Hey, it's Christian. So I think I'm just going to kind of riff a little bit. Um, this morning, on the Friday Morning Nameless Randos podcast, I did my first podcast and I wanted to kind of reflect on it. It's pretty raw, pretty unprocessed. So here I go. Uh, First, it was like I put out this video a week and a half ago and like opened up a whole can of worms into a space in YouTube that I didn't even know really existed, other than kind of a more ethereal conceptual idea, but not an actual living, breathing type thing. So I released this video entitled "This Little Corner of the Internet: How I See It." Welcome to my channel, and it for me went viral. It hit like 500 views. My first video in this. I was like, what is going on here? This is crazy. And people were engaging, and someone was like, Chad, get him on. And I'm like, what is going? And I'd seen some of this estuary culture from Paul Vanderklay and some of his randos. I just didn't know that I was like tapping on that, I guess. And right then, like the day before that day, Waves of Obsession had released a video about why he was gonna start playing in the space, and then Chad clipped these things together and then put another one out, and people were engaging with that, and it just happened very quickly, and it was exciting, and it was this huge rush, dopamine, all the things of that nature, and I'm just like, whoa, trying to keep up and trying to explain to my wife what is what is going on with this, and yeah, this guy wants me to get on a podcast, and I'm like, you know, so we had the kind of conversations that ensue, and it was a little messy, but it ended up being right. And so a few days ago, recorded a podcast with Chad the Alcoholic on Randos United, and and had a really great experience. For one, he was just very kind in the approach and warm. And I felt like I was there's something to some of this space where there's a connection point and the people involved, and I think and how either they are wired that makes the connection make sense. And I felt that watching some other randos conversations, like I did the video on Grim and Ted, and I've engaged with Christian Apologius Thopius streams, and some of Luke Thompson's streams with Grail Country, and it's just all kind of felt like a vibration that was in sync, more or less. So that has been mind blowing. So we talk, I kind of give a little more detailed description of my story, how I landed here, what's brought me to this point. And it streamed this morning, and I was watching it live while people were engaging, and we had a little crew, about 15 people watching, and popping in and out, commenting, and it unfortunately crashed for some reason. So I encourage you to go finish up the episodes on his channel, the Friday Morning Nameless, and you can tap into like the last 25, 30 minutes of it. And I kind of got into something that I was really excited to talk about, which was Thomas Kincaid and his art. And I have a video on that on my channel you can look up as well. But yeah, there was, who else was popping in there? There was Weird Theology. I think that's his name. And I commented like the night before on his channel about some stuff I'd seen him talk about related to Andrew Peterson, who's a Christian artist, and his kind of cohort of oddities in the Rabbit Room there in Nashville, and so there's just like these little points, and so I felt tired today. I felt tired today. Spent leading up to this. I think there's, an element of stress. My wife and I have this term. I don't know if we got it from a therapist or what we call it, vulnerability hangover. So you get vulnerable and then you have all this unsureness after. And then that you're just kind of like, oh, did I say what I wanted to say? Am I going to be understood? Did I say too much? All these questions. And so that's been part of where I've been at. And yesterday I kind of took a little bit of a break with some of this stuff. I just kind of was like, I need to focus. My brain had been like, been pulled in a very pointed direction. And I was just like, I love the movie with Kevin Costner in the 90s. He's a aging professional baseball player. He's a pitcher, and he has this thing that he does when he's trying to focus and he's in the stadium. He says, "Clear the mechanism." And I've held on to that for years. And you have these moments where you just kind of have to clear everything out. Clear the mechanism. So yeah, I just wanted to get on and say a few things. Chad's from our 2-hour conversation, a gracious human being. And we were able to, like, in the backstage. It's so funny. I've been in dozens and dozens of backstages, but I was backstage digitally, with Chad before and after the stream started for a few minutes, and it's it's a different space, man. It's a different space, able to kind of like take the mask off, both metaphorically and literally, and kind of get on the level about, are you okay? And let's start this in a certain way. And it was a really enjoyable process. So thank you, Chad. And I don't have any other deep thoughts. Nothing grand, other than it was a lot of fun. And reach out to me if you're on a channel and you do podcasts. If you feel like my story or my insights would make sense in your space, or if you want to talk to me about anything that I'm talking about on here, or about what's going on in my life. And I was watching the Martin Shaw, Paul Vanderklay video, which is awesome. And Martin Shaw gets to this point about why he's doing what he's doing now, why he's going public. It's so funny. There's these things happening. It's like, I've got to come out as a Christian. Like that's how I felt. And that's what he kind of was pointing at in the video. And he's like, this story isn't my own anymore. Now I've got to go out and be one of God's little worker bees. So yeah, it's in YouTube world now. My story's not my own anymore. And I wasn't a chief. Like he talked about being a chief in his space, and he's in his small space, but he has to like let the world grow. And for me as an extrovert, this has been like upside down. He was reluctantly coming into this space, and I'm reluctantly trying to, as more of an extroverted type, like try to approach it without going headlong in, because that's my tendency. So yeah, but if you're randomly coming on this video, check out my first video, my story. Check out the Friday Morning Nameless podcast, and watch Paul Vanderklay's interview with Martin Shaw, his podcast. It's just, things are happening, and we're just swept up in it.